My parents gave my sister a luxury villa and handed me nothing but an empty parking lot. You can always sleep under the stars. They joked, laughing, but when I turned that lot into a business, suddenly they wanted a cut. I should have known this dinner was some kind of trap. My parents never called me over without having a reason, and it was usually to remind me how much of a disappointment I was. Still, I went because deep down I couldn't shake that stupid hope that maybe, just maybe, this time things would be different. I work as a mechanic, nothing glamorous, but I'm good at it. I fix things, get paid, and keep to myself. Meanwhile, my sister Tina? She's their perfect little angel. Never had to work a day in her life. Everything was always handed to her. She could set their house on fire, and they'd somehow find a way to blame me for it. So, I walk in, and there's Tina already sipping wine like she owns the place. Dad's at the table, flipping through the paper. Mom's in the kitchen, pretending to be busy, probably to avoid looking at me too much. Tina smirks. Wow, you actually showed up. What took you? The night off from changing tires? I ignore her and sit down. Mom said it was important. Dad finally lowers the paper. It is. We've decided to divide our assets. Tina lights up. She already knows she's about to get something big. Mom smiles at her. We're giving you the beach house. Sweetheart? Tina gasps, clutching her chest like she's just won an award. Oh my God. The one in Monterey. Mom confirms. Yes, honey, it's yours now. I sit there, waiting. There's got to be something for me, right? Dad turns to me, his face emotionless. And you, Luke, we're giving you the parking lot. Silence. I blink. The what? The old lot on 8th Street. Mom says, waving her hand as though she's doing me a favor. It's land, you can figure something out. Tina bursts out laughing. Oh my God. That's hilarious. She turns to me with a smirk. Well, at least you'll always have a place to sleep, under the stars. Dad chuckles. That lot's been empty for years. But hey, maybe you can start a lemonade stand or something. Mom sighs. Luke, you always say you want to build something for yourself. Now's your chance. I stare at them. This wasn't a kind gesture in disguise. This was straight up trash. A memory flashes in my mind. At 16. I came home covered in grease after my first job at the auto shop. I was so proud. I walked in, holding my first paycheck, excited to show them I was working hard. Tina was on the couch, whining about wanting a new car for her birthday. Dad didn't even look at me. You're gonna smell like oil for the rest of your life. Huh? Mom shook her head. Well, at least he's useful. Maybe one day he'll fix your car for free, Tina. She never needed to. They bought her a brand new BMW that week. And here we were, years later, and nothing had changed. I take a slow breath and push back from the table. You're serious? Dad shrugs. You should be grateful we're giving you anything. Tina snickers. Maybe one day you'll make enough money to buy a real property. They start laughing like it's the funniest thing ever. I grip the edge of my chair so hard my knuckles turn white. But I don't yell. I don't argue. I just nod. Okay. Mom frowns. That's it? No, thank you. I stand up. Oh, I'll make something of it. I look at Tina. And when I do, don't come knocking. She rolls her eyes. Sure, Luke. Can't wait to see what you do with a slab of concrete. Dad shakes his head, muttering, always so dramatic. I walk out without another word. Fine. They thought they could humiliate me? I'd turn that worthless parking lot into something they'd never see coming. And when I did, they'd regret every single word. I stood in front of that parking lot, staring at it like it was some kind of sick joke. Cracked pavement, weeds pushing through the asphalt, a rusted sign barely hanging onto its post. My parents didn't just screw me over, they laughed while doing it. Fine. They wanted me to fail. I'd make sure they choked on their own words. The next morning, I filed for permits to allow food trucks. If this was just a slab of concrete, then I was going to make sure it was a profitable one. Within a week, I had contracts with some of the best local food truck owners, tacos, burgers, coffee, even overpriced vegan bowls for the hipsters. I took out a small loan, not from a bank, but from my boss at the auto shop, a guy who actually believed in hard work. I used it to set up lights, seating, music, and banners, turning the place into something real. 3 weeks later, that useless parking lot. It was now a bustling food court with live music and lines out the door. And that's when the fun began. About a month in, after the place went viral on social media, I saw her, Mom. She showed up in her fancy coat, looking around like she'd just stepped into a dump. I was checking inventory when she approached. "So, this is what you've done?" she said, wrinkling her nose at the crowd enjoying their meals. I didn't even bother looking at her. "Yeah, well, you gave me trash, so I made it work," she exhaled sharply, clearly unimpressed. "This isn't a real business," she said. "It's just a phase, right?" I laughed. "A phase that's making more money than Tina's influencer career." Her face twitched, and just then, Tina rounded the corner. She froze in place, her smug expression vanishing as she took in the place. "What on earth?" she snapped. "You turned this into what is this? A flea market?" I grinned. "It's called a successful business." She scoffed. "This is a joke. This isn't real money." I gestured around. "Yeah? Then why are hundreds of people spending their fake money here every night?" A few customers actually clapped. Tina's face turned red. "Mom, say something," she whined. Mom cleared her throat. "Luke, we're just concerned. This doesn't seem stable." I raised an eyebrow. "Stable? Like the fully furnished beach house you handed Tina for free?" Tina quickly cut in. "You can't sell this. This is family property." I chuckled briefly. "Oh, so now it's family property? That's a good one." "When you were all laughing at me, I don't recall hearing any mention of family." Her jaw tightened. "This isn't fair," she snapped. "You didn't earn this." I turned to face her slowly. "Are you really saying that to me?" She crossed her arms, but I could see her confidence begin to falter. "I'm just saying, selling it would be betraying the family." I tilted my head. "When you handed it off to me as a joke, that wasn't betrayal?" Mom looked like she was searching for something to say, and after a pause, she finally found her words. "Well," she said carefully, "if this business is doing so well, maybe we should talk about a partnership." I stared at her, then I burst out laughing loudly. So loudly, in fact, a few customers turned their heads. "You've got to be kidding," I said. "You mocked me, humiliated me, gave me nothing, and now that I've turned it around, you want a piece of it?" Tina crossed her arms. "It's family money now." I took a step closer, locking eyes with her. "You already got your share," I said coldly. "Live with it." Without another word, I turned my back and walked into my business, leaving them frozen like statues. They thought they could break me, but I was just getting started. It all began with a phone call. I was sitting in my office, a small converted shipping container on the edge of my thriving food truck business, when my phone buzzed. "Mom," I stared at the screen for a moment, then declined the call. A minute later, another call. Then another. I smirked. They needed something. By now, my food truck park was the hottest spot in town. Live music, weekend events, VIP sections, and influencers lining up to get in. I was making more in a month than I had in a year at the auto shop. And suddenly, my family, who'd laughed in my face, couldn't stop calling. A few days later, I was overseeing a delivery when I heard a voice that made my skin crawl. "Tina." I turned around. She was there, arms crossed, but this time there was no smugness. This time, she looked desperate. I raised an eyebrow. "Wow, you actually came to the parking lot. What, did your car break down?" She exhaled sharply. "I need to talk to you." I checked my watch. "I've got 5 minutes, make it count." Her jaw clenched, but she swallowed her pride. "I need to sell the beach house." I blinked. "The same beach house you gloated about?" She ignored that. "The market is trash right now, and I need money fast." I smirked. "Let me guess. Too many luxury vacations, designer bags, and overpriced lattes?" She stiffened. "It's complicated," she muttered. "Just say you'll help." I leaned against a food truck, crossing my arms. "Help? How?" She hesitated. "I need $200,000 to cover debts before I can even list it." I whistled. "Oh man, that's rough." I turned back to my delivery, waving the driver over. "Good luck with that." She grabbed my arm. "Are you serious? You have the money." I pulled away. "Oh, now my business is real enough for you to beg for a loan?" Her face flushed. "Luke, we're family." I laughed. "Funny. Last time we talked, you said I was a joke. Where's all that energy now?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. "I'll pay you back," she finally said, her voice softer. "Please." I stared at her for a long moment. Then I leaned in and said, "No." Her eyes widened. "No." I smiled. "That's right. The same way you mom and dad said no when I needed support. The same way you all laughed at me. So no, Tina, I won't bail you out." She took a step back, genuinely shocked. Then the rage hit her. "Are you serious? You're just going to let me fail?" I shrugged. "That's not my problem." And I walked away. But it wasn't over. A week later, I pulled into my lot and saw my parents standing there. Mom looked frustrated. Dad just looked tired. "Luke." Mom started. "We need to talk." I sighed. "Let me guess. Tina ran crying to you?" And now you're here to talk some sense into me? Mom pursed her lips. This is a serious situation. Dad finally spoke. We need your help, son. I raised an eyebrow. Son? Oh, now I'm a son again. Mom sighed. Your father's business isn't doing well. We're in financial trouble. I fought back a smile. Oh, I said, acting surprised. You mean the family that handed my sister a mansion and gave me a piece of concrete is struggling? Who could have seen that coming? Mom's nostrils flared. Don't be childish, Luke. I tilted my head. Childish? Like laughing in someone's face when they're struggling? Dad groaned. We don't need a lecture, we need a loan. There it was. The golden moment. I rubbed my chin. How much? Mom swallowed. 500,000. I laughed. No way. 500,000. Dad nodded, looking drained. You're successful now. You can afford it. I crossed my arms. Oh, so now I'm successful? Mom snapped. Don't be a brat, Luke. We are your family. I let that hang in the air. Then I smiled. Let me tell you something about family. I took a step closer. Family doesn't mock you when you're struggling. Another step. Family doesn't treat you like a joke. And one more. I took a final step. Family doesn't show up only when they need something. Mom's face went pale. Dad muttered, Luke, please. I exhaled and shook my head. You made your choices. I motioned toward my property, the empire I'd built. This was mine and I had earned it. Then I took a step back. I'm not giving you anything, I said, locking eyes with them. Mom gasped in shock. You ungrateful little. I held up a hand, silencing her. We're done. I turned on my heel. Luke, Dad called. If you walk away from this. I stopped. I spun around. Walk away, I repeated, my voice laced with sarcasm. You mean, like you walked away from me? I let the silence hang in the air before nodding. Exactly. That's what I thought. And I walked out. The next part was about more than just saying no. It was about making them see me thrive. I thought I was finished with them. I thought I had made it perfectly clear. No money, no help, no favors. But people like my parents and Tina? They don't accept no, so, of course, a few days later, they came at me full force. It started small. A few online reviews. I was scrolling through my phone when I saw the first one. 1 star. This place is overrated, overpriced food, and the owner is rude. Avoid. Then another, 1 star. The staff is unprofessional, and the entire place smells like trash. And another, 1 star. Do not support this business. The owner is selfish and doesn't care about family. I snorted in amusement. Nice try, Mom. She was always good at playing the victim. First, she'd throw you under the bus, then act like you were the one who wronged her. I could practically see her in the kitchen, furiously typing out fake reviews between sips of her overpriced wine. But that wasn't all. A few days later, a city inspector appeared. Anonymous complaint, he muttered, clearly uncomfortable. Someone reported that your permits might not be up to code. I smirked. Let me guess, a middle-aged woman and her entitled daughter? He scratched his head. I can't say who filed it, but I have a feeling you already know. I knew exactly who it was. Then came another complaint, this time, about my seating area supposedly violating space requirements, another about noise levels, another about food safety. They were trying to bury me in red tape, trying to drown me in fines. They wanted to crush my business before it could take off. But here's the thing. I wasn't going down that easy. I didn't panic, I fought back. I hired a lawyer. Every permit, every license, every regulation was scrutinized, triple-checked, and locked down tighter than a vault. Even the city inspector had to admit there was nothing wrong. I doubled down on marketing. If they wanted to tarnish my reputation, I drowned them out with positivity. I threw special events, giveaways, and live performances. I contacted local influencers, inviting them to VIP tasting nights. I wasn't just holding ground. I was expanding. They thought they had a problem before. They had no idea what was coming. I rented the space next door to open an outdoor beer garden. I teamed up with local artists for weekend craft markets. I turned their sabotage into a marketing blitz. And my business? It exploded. Then, Tina made the worst mistake of her life. It was a Saturday night, prime time. The place was alive with music, laughter, and the scent of sizzling tacos. The lines stretched out across the lot. The place was packed. That's when I heard it. A loud voice near the entrance. This place is a joke. I turned. It was Tina, and she was wasted. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smeared, and her designer dress was wrinkled, like she had been crying in her car before stumbling in. Mom was right behind her, trying to control her. Tina, stop this. Mom pleaded. Tina yanked her arm away. I can't believe you think you're better than us, she screamed. Look at you, she continued. A mechanic pretending to be a businessman. A few people in the crowd turned, pulling out their phones. I smiled. Perfect. I walked toward her, my voice calm and steady. Tina, leave. She stumbled closer, her face twisted with anger. You think you're a big shot now, huh? You think you're better than us? I smirked. I don't think it, I know it. Her face contorted with fury. You're nothing, nothing. And then splash. I didn't see it coming. She grabbed a drink off a stranger's table and hurled it at me. Cold beer splashed across my chest. The lot went dead silent. A second later, two of my security guards pinned her to the ground. The crowd gasped, whispers filling the air. Mom screamed, "Let her go. She's your sister." I wiped the beer off my shirt and turned to my head of security. Call the cops. Tina's eyes went wide with shock. What? No. Luke. Don't. I crouched down, speaking low. Actions, half, consequences. 10 minutes later, sirens blared across the lot. Mom was hysterical. You're ruining the family name. I laughed. Lady, you did that all on your own. Tina was put into the back of a cop car, sobbing, begging. She looked just like I had all those years ago, when they made me feel small, but unlike them, I didn't care. Mom turned to me, her voice trembling. This is your sister. Do something. I crossed my arms. Oh, you mean like how you did something when you gave me nothing and laughed in my face? She had no words. I turned and walked back to my customers. And over my shoulder, I called out, hope the beach house is worth it. And just like that, I went back to my thriving business. They thought they could watch me fail? Well, now they had front row seats to my success. After Tina's drunk outburst and arrest, I figured they'd finally get the message. Turns out I was wrong. A week later, Mom and Dad showed up again. This time, there was no smugness in their eyes, no laughter. They were desperate. I noticed them standing near the entrance, out of place and uneasy, while I was in the middle of a meeting with my event planner. For years, I had been the one feeling small around them, always feeling like I wasn't enough. But now I was in control. I finished my meeting, let them stew for a little longer, and then walked over with my arms crossed. Back again? I asked, keeping my tone light. Let me guess, Tina sent you because she's too embarrassed to face me? Dad cleared his throat. We need to talk, Luke. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, like the talk we had when you laughed in my face and handed me a piece of garbage while giving Tina a mansion? Mom pursed her lips, clearly trying to hold herself together. This isn't about the past. I couldn't help but laugh. Oh, it's all about the past, because if you hadn't treated me like dirt, you wouldn't be standing here begging me for help. Her eye twitched, but she forced a calm look. We're in trouble. I already knew what was coming. Tina had maxed out her credit cards, trying to keep up with her influencer lifestyle. Her beach house was on the brink of foreclosure after she'd refinanced it 3 times, and Dad's business? It was bleeding money, his partners abandoning ship as the economy tanked. They were sinking, and I was their only hope. Dad exhaled heavily. Luke, we're family. Family helps each other. I burst out laughing. That's rich. You didn't care about family when you screwed me over. Now that you're broke, suddenly it's about family. Mom stiffened. You have more than enough to help us. Why are you being so spiteful? I stepped closer, my voice dropping low. Spiteful? Oh no, spiteful would be me buying your house just to kick you out of it. Their eyes widened. Dad's face went pale. You wouldn't. I smirked, wouldn't I? I had been waiting for this moment. After Tina's outburst and their pathetic attempts to sabotage me, I knew they'd come crawling back. So I made a backup plan. While they drowned in debt, I'd been buying property, expanding. Guess what? Their house, the one we grew up in? It was on the market and I had bought it. Mom's face drained of color. No, she whispered, you're lying. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the email, and held it up for them to see. The email read, new property purchase confirmed. Dad's hands were shaking. You bought our house? He croaked. I tilted my head. You mean the house you told me wasn't my home anymore? The house where you let Tina treat me like garbage? Mom grabbed my arm. Please, Luke, we'll do anything, just don't take her home. I pulled away, unfazed. Now you understand what it feels like to have something ripped away. She started crying, but I didn't care. And then came the final blow. I looked at both of them, took a deep breath, and spoke slowly. You know what? I'm not heartless. Mom gasped. You're not. I smirked. I'll give you the house. Dad exhaled a shaky breath of relief. I kept the grin on my face, sure, on one condition. They both nodded eagerly. Anything, they said in unison. I pulled out a pen and paper, something I'd already prepared. I'll let you live in it, but I own it and you will pay me rent. Their jaws dropped. Mom's voice trembled. Luke, you can't be serious. I leaned in closer. Oh, I'm deadly serious. Dad swallowed hard. How much? I named my price. It was high, very high, fair for the market, but high enough to make sure they felt it every single month. Mom's face twisted in horror. You're charging us to live in our own home? I grinned. No, I'm charging you to live in my home. Silence fell. Dad sighed, defeated. We don't have a choice, do we? I shrugged. Of course you do. There are plenty of cheap motels around. Mom shot me a glare, but we both knew she'd lost. With trembling hands, Dad signed the contract. Mom snatched the pen, her hand shaking so much I thought she'd tear the paper in half. Once they finished, I took the contract, folded it neatly, and slipped it into my pocket. Pleasure doing business with you, I said, turning to leave. Dad slumped against the wall, rubbing his temples. Mom wiped her tears away, her face a mask of pure humiliation. They had spent their entire lives belittling me, treating me like I was nothing. Yeah? Now, I own their home, I own their future, I own them. As I walked back into my business, a smile crept onto my face. They thought I'd be nothing? Now, I owned everything and they had nothing.